Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Ever feel like politics is just a confusing mess right now? Like, who's doing what, and why does it matter? You're definitely not alone. Today we're breaking down the fundamentals of American government, the stuff you probably learned in school, but you might have forgotten. And more importantly, we're connecting to what's happening right now in the political world. So let's go ahead and get started. Understanding how our government works is more crucial now more than ever. And if we want to make our voices heard and shape the future of our country, we got to learn this stuff. So first, I want to start with the types of government and democracy. First things first, what exactly is government? Well, basically, it's the system by which a society organizes itself and makes decisions. Throughout history, there have been all sorts of governments. Think ruled by one person, like a monarchy, ruled by a few, like an aristocracy or an oligarchy, and ruled by many, which brings us to democracy, the system that we have in place now. So, at least in theory, in the United States. There are different types of democracy too. Regular democracy is where citizens vote directly on every issue. Think like town hall meetings or even some of the initiatives or referendums that we see in some states. But at the federal level, we also have what's called a representative democracy, where we elect people to make decisions on our behalf. This is where things like the Electoral College come into play, which, as we all know, can be a bit controversial. But we'll talk more about that later. The key takeaway here is that even in a democracy, ensuring that everyone's voice is heard and that the majority truly rules is an ongoing challenge. We'll see more about this later on. We see this in current debates about voting rights, access to the ballot box, and fair representation. Part 2 is more about elections and the majority rule. So, how do we make sure the majority rules in a representative democracy? Well, the thing is, elections are the cornerstone. Even with elections, though, it's not as simple. Think about voter turnout. Are all eligible citizens participating? What about the primary system? Does it truly represent the will of the people, or does it give more power to certain individuals? And let's not forget the elephant in the room, the influence of money in politics, and the ways in which information or sometimes misinformation could be used to sway voters. We've seen these issues play out dramatically in recent elections with debates over voter suppression, allegations of fraud, and discussions about campaign and finance reform. These aren't just abstract ideas, they have real world consequences for who gets elected and what policies are enacted. Part 3 is more about American political culture, and I want to talk more about this in a nuanced way. Now, let's talk about American political culture. This is the set of shared beliefs, values, and attitudes that shape how we think about government and politics. Some core concepts include classical liberalism, which emphasizes individual rights and limited government, and the idea of a social contract where citizens agree to give up certain freedoms in exchange for government protection. We also have core values like liberty, equality, and individualism. But here's the thing, these values are often interpreted differently by different people. Think about the ongoing debates about immigration. How do we balance our tradition of welcoming immigrants with concerns about national security and the impact on our society? These are the complex questions that get to the heart of who we are as a nation and what we believe in. And I want to talk more about the Constitution and the principles. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts, which is the Constitution. This is the document which was the foundation of our government. It wasn't created in a vacuum. The founding fathers learned from their own experiences with self-governance during the colonial period. And they also found weaknesses in the Articles of Confederation, which created a very weak central government. So they created the Constitution, which established key principles like republicanism, where we elect representatives to govern us. Federalism, which divides power between the federal and state governments, and separation of powers, which divides power among the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branches. And to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful, they built in a system of checks and balances. So these principles are still relevant today. We see them in action in legal battles over presidential power, Supreme Court, decisions on federalism, and congressional oversight of the executive branch. We see them in action in legal battles over presidential power, Supreme Court, decisions on federalism, and congressional oversight on the executive branch. Next thing is amending the Constitution. The Constitution is a living document, meaning it could be amended or changed. Key word, it could be amended or changed. The amendment process is intentionally difficult, reflecting the balance between stability and the need for change. It requires a 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress or a national convention called by 2/3 of the state to propose an amendment, and then ratification by 3/4 of the states. This process ensures that changes to our fundamental law have broad support. Think about the amendments that have been added over time, like the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights protects our fundamental freedoms, or the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote today. Today, there are ongoing discussions about potential future amendments like term limits for members of Congress or changes to the Electoral College. These debates, they highlight the ongoing conversation about how to perfect our union and ensure that our government continues to reflect the will of the people. I'll leave you with this. So there you have it. A whirlwind tour of American government. I know it's a lot to take in, but I hope this video has given you a better understanding of how the system works and why it matters. Understanding these fundamentals are crucial, and it's very important for becoming an informed citizen. I encourage you to do your own research, discuss these topics with your friends or family at the dinner table, and most importantly, participate in the political process, whether it's voting, contacting representatives, or simply staying informed on issues. Your voice matters. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.